Thanks for tuning in to Look at My JPEG, the podcast that discusses NFT, DeFi, and NFT financialization. This is your host, Xerox Jose, the founder of NFTperp. The reason why I want to do this podcast is because there's just not enough people talking about NFT financializations. In this podcast, you can expect us to invite guests that are builders, founders, even investors that are deep in the NFT financialization space. We'll discuss their story, what they're building, and how you can get involved. So thanks for tuning in. Welcome to episode 22. In this week's podcast, we have a very cool protocol that goes by the name of Unlocked. Unlocked Finance is on a mission to create the safest loans using your NFTs while keeping all of the utility. Live on Ethereum Mainnet, you can start earning compounding yields and borrowing instantly against your NFTs at low and more instantly safe loans. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Just a little quick heads up, we have experienced some audio issues on one of the guests, so bear with us as you listen. Thank you. Great to have you guys on. And for those that are tuning in live, and this is the, I believe, 22nd episode of Look at My JPEG Podcast, where we talk about NFT finance protocols. And today we have the team from Unlocked. We have George and we have Arnau. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. It's great to be here with you guys. We've been in touch since I think both projects kicked off, so it's good to keep doing things together.
Sure. I think your microphone is slightly muffled.
He might have maybe connection issues, so don't worry. Just so for an acceleration, and on my side, great to be here, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys for coming on, taking the time. Maybe before we hop into the protocol itself, can you give us a quick intro of your background, entry in crypto, and then we can kind of talk about the origin story of Unlocked.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll try to talk a bit louder if that helps. So a brief intro. Jorge, I'm from Spain. Been in this space on and off since quite a long time already. Bought my first Bitcoin in 2012. So it's been a ride, ups and downs, of course. And been a serial entrepreneur so far. Started a few startups, 3 before Unlocked. So one in the recruitment space. And it was, started building Unlocked.
We couldn't hear you for the last about 10 seconds because the internet connection kind of went off.
Sorry about that. I have quite a bad connection right now. But I was just saying that mid 2021 is when I decided to get into crypto full time, and that's when we started Unlocked.
Got it. And Arnau, how about you?
Yeah, I started on crypto in 2017, more or less. I've been basically all my professional lifetime has been focused on crypto. So I came up with, understood Bitcoin when I was studying university. So that changed completely my life and my future as well. So at the beginning, I just went all in on it, starting working on a consultancy, working on projects, and participating on many projects since the day I started, like by 2018, especially launching and designing tokens, which was the thing I loved the most. Went into DeFi very, very soon when it started on the DeFi space, especially in Spain. And met Jorge about more than a year ago. We had very similar point of views and visions on the impact of the NFT space. We were doing testing things using NFTs as peer-to-peer lending protocols and messing around. So working together has been best thing ever, bringing two visions all together, and also being able to focus the idea into the gaming space, which I think was one of the greatest decisions. And despite at the beginning I wasn't as fan of the gaming industry as I am now. Right now, I see like Unlock and the vision and the go-to-market, just one of the most important features and characteristics that make us special. So yeah, this is how I went into crypto and how we started Unlock about a year ago.
Got it. So let's dive right into Unlocked. Can you give us a brief introduction of Unlocked, and then we can kind of dive into more protocol mechanism details later on.
Yeah. If you want, I can, let me know if at any point you guys don't hear me well. But
yeah, if that's the case, we'll tell you, Jorge, and I'll keep going. Don't worry.
Yeah, please do so. Please do so. So yeah, I'll give you a bit of background on why we started it and then what it is. So the reason we started it was, on one end, when looking at the debt market in crypto, one of the things that pops out is that it's extremely small compared to its underlying. Like if you look at traditional financial markets, debt is as big as its underlying. It's basically what fuels the market, right? But in crypto, that's not the case, right? And the reason for that is mainly that currently the first efforts in debt market in crypto, which are they're good first steps, but they focus on using liquid assets as collateral, which is it's not ideal, obviously. In traditional finance, that's a very niche use case. Most of the debt is issued against illiquid assets or future cash flows, right? So we started thinking, how can we solve that? And obviously, illiquid assets in this infancy of crypto is NFTs. So we said, let's tackle that, right?
Jorge, I think you lost connection now.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I get to what Jorge was explaining. Maybe the second vision was their experience in the guild ecosystem. So there's Carlos as well, one of our CEOs and co-founders of the project. So they were seeing this huge industry that was raising from the NFT gaming world, which were guilds. And it's quite fascinating because in a way it's kind of a traditional company that owns real estate, and they just lend it and generate yield on them. But instead of real estate and being physical, it's just NFTs that can be utilized in gaming, and you can play with them and generate yield on them. So these kind of massive companies it was very difficult for them to grow without diluting the company or without selling previous assets. So there was no market where you could use existing and profitable assets to leverage yourself and maybe increase your exposure in a like very profitable game or whatever. So seeing these two issues, that markets and lending markets were based on liquid assets, and they were totally not comparable on the ratio that we have in traditional markets, and also considering that most of the debt in the traditional market is based or used as collateral, like non-fungible assets like real estate, and also seeing this huge opportunity on the gaming industry, that there was nobody bringing these kind of solutions to them. They were trying to grow. Like, for example, there's YGG trying to having to dilute themselves to increase the amount of assets, because they were being very profitable, but not having this kind of financial layer to increase the exposure or grow in a faster way. So that's when we came together and launched Unlock with this vision to bring more efficiency on the lending market and provide financial layer for the metaverse and all these NFT gaming assets.
Got it. That's really interesting, because in traditional finance, really, like there are two ways to get financing, right? Like you have traditionally you have like equity. It's either equity or debt, right? And I think you guys are tapping into that side of crypto where companies, and you put it perfectly. Getting financing options is either you sell equity or you take out a loan, like a line of credit. And typically, these sort of corporate, private company bonds, junk bonds, corporate bonds, if you will, in traditional finance world, it's very, very common to see, but not as common in crypto, if you will. And I think you guys have definitely found a very promising user base and solving these really good problems for these different guilds and different gaming focused companies. So on a high level, what does Unlock do, and how are you guys different compared to the existing existing NFT finance protocols like BendDAO or NFTFi?
Let's try Jorge.
Sure.
If you, let's go. See if you manage to keep online. Don't worry.
Let's see how long it lasts. But so compared to NFTFi, let's start there. Because there the difference is very easy to spot. They're a peer-to-peer protocol. I think peer-to-peer lending has a space, and it's not necessarily 100% overlapping with pool-based lending protocols like us. I like to do the analogy always to traditional markets because they have been perfected over time, right? But there you have exchange, right? Peer-to-peer is kind of like an OTC desk. You're going to keep.
I think Jorge, we are losing you again. Maybe I have to take it again and see if you.
Yeah, let's see. Do you hear me now?
Try now.
So as I was saying, like to me, NFTFi is like an OTC desk, and pool-based protocols are more like exchanges. There's space for both, right? But the advantages of a pool-based model like us versus NFTFi is you get more efficient interest rates. The reason for that is that liquidity is more available because at the end of the day, on a lending marketplace, you need to post your NFT and wait for someone to see it, make you an offer that suits you, and your real liquidity is actually only the people seeing the NFT that you've posted, right? It's not the whole ecosystem, and that's why we see very high interest rates there. You don't get instant liquidity, and loan conditions are quite stiff because you cannot change them along the way, right? So that would be the difference with NFTFi. The difference with a BendDAO is when we built Unlocked, our main premise from the get-go was that you would be able to keep the full utility of your NFT while using it as collateral, right? Which is something you don't find in any other protocol right now. We didn't focus on that as our first feature set because initially we wanted to put a lot of focus on everything that is around financial safety for loans, right? And that basically means that we have focused on things like having a risk framework that's based on machine learning that gives every individual NFT an individual loan to value, instead of giving arbitrary loan to values like other protocols do to every collection, right? So in our case, it's safer because we know exactly the risk of every single NFT, and we allocate a loan to value that basically puts all NFTs at the same risk level through that, right? We also don't use floor prices. So if you have an NFT that is not a floor NFT and you want to borrow against it, we value it at its fair value through our partners, Upshot, Nabu, and NFT Bank. And then we have a liquidation mechanism that is very robust. So instead of just putting up an English auction of NFTs that are being liquidated and waiting for that to get liquidated, we also aggregate all the liquidity from AMMs, all the offers that there are on marketplaces against those NFTs we're liquidating, and also give them a buy price that gets aggregated by market based aggregators. So we're tapping into a lot more liquidity that lenders will recover their funds in case of a default, and that the borrower will even have something left after that, right? And so that's what we have right now. That's what makes us different right now. What's going to make us different in April is we're going to be launching a feature by which unutilized liquidity in our lending pools is going to be deployed on third-party protocols such as Yearn Finance, where we already have something integrated, and Convex. And this is going to allow for much tighter spreads between borrower interest rates, lender APY, which currently in competitors those spreads are very high, right? In fact, right now with the APYs of the vaults that we would be investing into, borrowers would be paid ETH from real yields, so not from some inflationary token, for borrowing, right? And then in the summer we're going to be releasing our main feature, which is the reason why we started all this, which is being able to keep the full utility of your NFTs while borrowing against them, and being able also to borrow against your whole portfolio or a group of NFTs.
Got it. A lot to unpack here. I'd like to ask a couple of questions. So the first that you mentioned that I thought was interesting was you said that the interest rates on NFTFi is quite stiff, and then it doesn't become like a variable interest rate. Like, are you saying that borrowing on Unlocked, as a borrower, you could have variable interest rates?
Yeah, so currently interest rates fluctuate, right? So on Unlocked, so they're variable, depending on the utilization of the lending pool, right? So currently there's no fixed rates on Unlocked. In the future, we're going to have the option of taking out a loan at a fixed rate and even swapping between fixed and variable rate. We'll probably integrate with some of the protocols that usually are used for swapping interest rates out there. But for now, it's all variable.
Got it. And when you initiate the loan, like that loan to value ratio, you mentioned like individual NFTs are being valuated. Like, which are you using? Which NFT appraisal protocol are you guys using for that? And does the protocol decide the valuation, or do the lenders decide valuation? Like, how is that value determined? And I guess like, in order for valuation to have to be agreed upon, right? You typically on NFTFi, for example, like you have a suggested valuation based on Upshot, for example, and for BendDAO, for example, they're using an Oracle that they built themselves, kind of use the floor prices. So with Unlocked, like, is that valuation for the underlying NFT appraised from a specific partner you guys are working with, and how is that process like? How do lenders and borrowers reach consensus on these valuations?
Sure. So there's no consensus to be reached because it's defined by the protocol, and the protocol fetches the valuation from from a couple of appraisers mainly. So first, we use Nabu. From what we've seen, they're the most accurate from our testing, right? They don't support as many collections as Upshot. So we basically have Nabu who fetches the price and tells us what the value of the NFT is. And then our risk framework or tells the protocol, right? And the protocol tells basically the borrower, the lenders, they don't need to do anything. They just need to deposit their ETH into the lending pool, right? And then our risk framework determines what the loan to value for that NFT is. The risk in using third-party appraiser is what happens if that appraiser goes down, right? And that's why we have a fail-safe mechanism where if Nabu goes down, we use Upshot. If Upshot goes down, we use NFT Bank. And we're currently working on solutions in case all three of them go down at the same time, right? So that it doesn't trigger a liquidation.
Got it. And that sort of brings me to the next questions. How does the liquidation work? And when you borrow an asset on Unlocked, are these fixed duration loans or are these perpetual loans?
Yeah, so these loans are perpetual. So basically, it tells you this is what your NFT is worth. This is what the interest rates are for the ETH lending pool, right? And this is how much you can borrow against this NFT. And then you decide how much you borrow. Depending on how much you borrow, you have a higher or lower health factor. And as you keep accumulating unpaid interest, that health rate declines, right? And be careful that you,
Jorge, we are losing
please.
you here,
Oh,
the
yeah,
connection.
you lost me again. Okay. Do you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. So where did you guys lose me?
For like 5
Um,
seconds. Pretty soon.
Okay. So yeah, I was basically saying that the way it works is we you come to Unlocked and we don't. So sorry, I lost track there. So you come to Unlocked, and when you start to get a loan, we are going to tell you this is what your NFT is worth, this is how much you can borrow against it, and then you decide how much of that you want to borrow. The more you borrow, the less your health factor, and the less you borrow, the healthier your health factor, right? So once you take out the loan, it's no fixed term, it's a perpetual loan. You just need to make sure that you keep your health factor above 1, right? So you keep accumulating interest, and as long as that doesn't drop your health factor below 1, because the interest is accounted for as debt, of course, then you're safe, right? Either because you pay some of it along the way, or because your NFT increases in value denominated in ETH. So that's basically how the loans will work here, right? And then as for the question regarding the liquidation, if you would drop below the health factor of 1, the following would happen. So we would put up your NFT for sale, sorry, like an auction, an English auction on Unlocked. And through Upshot, we would put a buyout price as a fair value, right? And or through Nabu, sorry, and it lasts 48 hours, that auction. If no one bids and no one buys it out, and by the way, that buyout price gets aggregated as a list through market, then
Hey, we lost you again.
yeah.
The buyout price, like what is the buyout price? Like what is that value set at?
Yeah, maybe Jorge, I can finish that.
Yeah,
Because
please.
right now your connection was a bit tough. So as Jorge was saying, once your health factor goes below 1, so your position would get liquidated just for the safety of the protocol. So the first thing you can do is bid on that NFT. So the bid price, or the minimum bid price, is the loan basically that the protocol needs to recover. And the buyout price is a instant sale option that is valued at like the fair price of the NFT. That this comes from the estimate valuation from Upshot. So you can say that maybe the depth is 4. The first bid might be 4.1 ETH, but the fair valuation coming from Upshot is 12 ETH. So you could buy the position, like that NFT specific one, instantly, paying 12 ETH. If not, you can have like a war, we could say, with the other bidders to see who ends up getting the highest bid and therefore buying the NFT. Finally, there's this last feature that we've added, which I think is one of the best things we can give our users in terms of security. That is having a way to integrate with marketplaces and aggregators. So in the end, we can also check what are the bids in other marketplaces regarding that same NFT. And you could say that maybe the bid on OpenSea is 5.1. So it is true that in Unlock, the minimum bid is 4.1. But if at the end of the 24 hours, there's a higher bid in another marketplace, we would use that bid as a liquidation to get the highest value for that same NFT. There's some incentive mechanism, so we can incentive the first bidder inside of Unlock, because this in the end guarantees the protocol that it will not lose money. So these different features and incentive program inside the liquidation is what I think it brings a lot of kind of a robust system to guarantee always liquidations and guarantee that the lenders will never lose money, and even like benefits for the protocol, which for now there are no fees. Everything is completely like frictionless, but in the end it brings margin so that in the future revenue can be generated by Unlocked and serves to holders and users of the protocol.
Got it. Thanks for unpacking that. A couple of questions here. Number one, how does the health factor move down to a place where the collateral needs to be liquidated? So you mentioned like this interest accrual that's unpaid interest that would have an effect on your health factor. And what are other, I guess, factors that would come in play that would affect a user's collateral or loan health factor? Is the fluctuation of prices for the underlying NFT collection come into play here?
Yeah.
Like how do you individually appraise? It seems like quite a one-sided determination of how a loan needs to be liquidated, right? Like say Nabu, like if they have a miscalculation on an appraisal, does that instantly have to trigger a liquidation process?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So there are two ways where a position can get unhealthy. It could be because the user doesn't check his own position and it occurs too many interests. So it ends up having a health factor below 1. And the other is for the fluctuation of the market. So we basically keep monitoring and triggering on-chain the valuation of each position, which is kind of a hard work. And we've managed to find also solutions to be able to update many assets in low amount of cost, because if not, it would be very intensive in gas costs. But as you were saying, if there was an error on Nabu, that would obviously create a problem inside on Unlocked. So to prevent this and keeping our focus on security first, we're building kind of security barrier just before that happens, so that we can check if the valuation makes sense. Because if it didn't, and it was too far away of the historical valuations and the track record of that NFT, like for example, if it's valued at 1 and the next hour valuation is 0.01, that's obviously something's going on. So we have this security check, not to prevent that valuation to get updated, because that could be the real market conditions, but to have kind of a security check on there. So yeah, we have we don't want to be an appraisal protocol, so we rely on others that are doing great job, like for example Nabu, Upshot, and always having an option that if Nabu's bringing a valuation that don't make sense in a historical valuation point of view, we can always go to other appraisals like Upshot and check if that valuation makes sense compared to Nabu. So this is the way we kind of prevent these issues from happening that you were raising.
Yeah, there's also a short delay between, when the health factor drops below 0 and when we trigger the liquidation, just to avoid spikes, right? And also, even if that would last for like a few hours, like the error on Nabu, the moment it would get back to its normal price, the health factor would be above 1 again. So the liquidation would be canceled in that case.
Right. Okay. Very interesting. And outside of that, when you mentioned that there's a minimum bid and that covers the debt, I think that makes a lot of sense. And during the auction process, where does the auction premium go when there is when there's like a difference between the debt and the final purchase price of that underlying collateral?
Yeah, that is accrued by the borrower. So, first we pay off the debt, and there's also the penalty, of course, for getting liquidated. And anything above that, the borrower recovers. So it's basically as if, the bank would take a house that you've mortgaged, sell it off, right? They would, of course, try to sell it fast, so they'll sell it cheap, which is not the case here. We've tried that, to put mechanisms in place so that that's not the case that we've highlighted a moment ago. But if there's anything left, then that goes to the borrower.
Understood. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Got it. And maybe tell us a little bit about protocol traction so far. I noticed you guys are probably on mainnet already. And then how's that process like? And how's your current protocol, I guess like volume, and how's that looking?
Yeah, so this first version that we launched, this beta version, has mainly been focused on all of these features that we categorize as safety features, to make it like, very safe from a from a risk perspective, right? Those are obviously not the features that are going to attract tons of users, because profile of NFT degens is different. Right now we have traction. We have something.
Jorge, we're having issues with the connection.
Okay.
If you hear us, maybe try. If not, I can take him from. Yeah, we can hear now.
Okay. So yeah, we have small traction for now, something like 240 ETH TVL. We have barely invested anything in our go-to-market strategy, maybe like a couple $1,000 or so. We're waiting to launch, be more aimed.
Jorge, maybe I can take him from there. We're having trouble again to make it a bit more clear. Yeah, don't worry. So, what Jorge was saying, it's kind of this better version, which is the minimum viable product we could launch, but focusing 100% and especially on safety and security. So our goal is like we haven't invested as much as we could on the marketing side and trying to promote the project. We know there are some features that we are waiting for that will completely change the way we are approaching the market and especially the conditions for borrowers and lenders. So the first thing is what Jorge was explaining before, that it's this strategy board manager that would allow us to delegate the non-utilized liquidity to other strategies and maximize the yield. Also, we've designed something which I think it's amazing, since from my point of view, but also very innovative that I haven't seen, that it's being able to create like incentives for borrowers and lenders, even to a point where they could be earning money for borrowing, but without depending on the dilution and of our own token. So in expense of using our liquidity mining process would be diluting the value of our token. So instead of that, by creating strategies that maximize yield of the non-utilized liquidity from the protocol, we can earn benefits that then can be delegated to lenders or borrowers according to the situation of the unlocked protocol. So if we need to incentivize borrowing, we can delegate these extra yield into the borrowings to the borrowers. If we need more lenders and more liquidity into the protocol, we can utilize this extra liquidity to lenders. So this is a way we found to kind of be very interesting and provide very high yield without depending on our own token. So this will be the first change that I would think it will bring Unlock to a very different conditions, especially regarding the interest rate and the market conditions for borrowers and lenders. And the second point would be on the V2, that it's what basically the complete change where you can keep your utilities and the projects of your NFTs while using them as collateral, and also a multi-collateral positions with more than one NFT.
Very interesting. So what you're suggesting is basically if there are idled capital in the pool that's not being utilized, you would essentially put that in a yield generating protocol, such as Yearn, such as Convex, and the yield that those idle capital on those protocols will be generating would then subsequently be distributed to the lenders and borrowers in the meantime. So you're not diluting your internal tokens.
So the whole logic is pretty complex. The way the manager or the contract strategy delegates and invests into different strategies. But in the end, the goal is to generate the highest yield to benefit the protocol so that we can use this yield to incentivize what's needed the most to lenders or borrowers, depending on the market.
And how do you think about it's obviously very degen. And how do you think about risk management in this sort of situations? And the reason why I'm asking is because DeFi protocols get attacked. DeFi protocols have different situations like black swan events that causes depositors to lose money, or in any sort of like leverage situations, like people get wrecked pretty easily, right? Like perfect example, USDC depegged. That actually wiped out a lot of people because there's a lot of stable farms that's doing leveraged farming on Curve or on different protocols that subsequently, because of the DPEG, like it caused a lot of different black swan events for yield farmers. How do you think about risk management in these situations when these things happen? Is there like an insurance fund that backstops that debt? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think I have a bit more of a stable connection now. Sorry
Much
about
better.
that.
We can
Yes.
tell. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, risk is super important, obviously. That's why we've been trying to, focus on everything that's safety to start with, right? And when analyzing risk, we think actually the risk you're taking on other NFT collateralized lending protocols, even if they're isolated to everything else, is much higher than the additional risk of integrating with a AAA protocol that's really battle tested like Yearn or like Convex, right? So that's why we've focused on reducing the amount of risk native to the activity of Unlocked at the start, right? So that we can then afford to do some other things and still stay less risky while staying more profitable than other solutions, right? That being said, though, once we launch our own token, you'll be able, to stake it and to secure the protocol with that. And the staked unlocked tokens will basically serve as guarantee fund in case something goes south, and it affects lenders or borrowers, right? On top of that as well, we are going to be integrating with Nexus Mutual in order to be able to ensure your positions on Unlocked, and that way deduct some risk in that sense as well. And so, everywhere we can, we're really trying to think about the risk factors and minimizing them because, as you say, like DeFi is risky. There's a lot of things that are interconnected, and you need to be very careful. That whatever yield you're getting or whatever utility in terms of being able to get liquidity out of your NFTs is worth the risk.
Yeah, got it. That's a great answer. I think whenever these sort of activities and the more protocols that you're integrating with as DeFi protocol, like the more complexity you're adding to the system and introduces additional risks. So it's great to hear that you guys are quite risk conscious in your design. So hats off to you guys, and excited to see the V2 launch and these different developments come out. Jorge and Arnaud, it's been a pleasure speaking with you guys. Is there anything that I missed that perhaps should have been asked? And is there any upcoming events, things that the listeners should know about with Unlocked?
So first of all, thank you so much for having us, and also thank you for your patience with my connection. It's a long story, but I'll explain on Telegram in a bit. And so in terms of things that are coming up, April is going to be an exciting month with us launching this feature of using the unutilized lending liquidity. So I definitely urge everyone to check us out. Right now, we have very low interest rates compared to anyone else out there. But those are going to be even lower and probably even negative once we launch this feature. So we expect that traction will pick up, and yeah. So I think that's the most exciting thing coming up. The V2 is going to be coming up early September. So those are kind of like the two milestones we have in front of us.
Amazing. For those that are listening, follow Unlocked That is at unlocked without the E. So UNLOCKD _finance on Twitter, and give Jorge a follow as well. That's at JORGESCHNURA on Twitter, and also give Arnau a follow. That's at RANAAURAMIO on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for coming on to Look at My JPEG. It's been a pleasure speaking with you guys, learning more about your risk conscious design, your capital utilization, and the way you're thinking about with different DeFi protocols, and your safety measures and mechanisms, and your go to market. The customers you guys are focusing on have impressed me quite well. Thank you. It's been great speaking with you guys.
Thank you very much for having us.
Have a good one. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to Look at My JPEG podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your audio podcast from, give us a like, a subscribe if you like the content, and we'll see you in the next episode.